moving traffic, getting Toronto moving, giving us time back with our families and loved ones.
The latest effort to get motorists moving in Toronto.
Tonight, adding more traffic agents to speed up the commute. Good evening. We begin tonight with the ongoing battle to break the gridlock in the city.
The promise of funding coming as the city outlines its spending priorities for the year ahead. CTV's Natalie Johnson joins us live with the details. Natalie.
Hi, Michelle. This is a sneak peek at this year's city budget. It includes funding to quadruple the number of traffic agents on city streets. Out in the cold, Toronto traffic agents working to turn up the heat on breaking gridlock.
These traffic agents will be moving traffic, getting Toronto moving, giving us time back.
The city's proposed 2025 budget includes a plan to boost the number of traffic agents to 100 from roughly 25 now, at a cost of $3 million.
Boots on the ground is critical for dealing with the complex dynamic at an intersection where you've got lots of people trying to get through on cars, lots of people crossing. You've got transit that we really need to get through because it moves so many people, as well as cyclists. So I think the boots on the ground is a great investment.
The agents will be deployed primarily downtown in intersections where traffic is known to block the box or where there was surge crowding. City officials pointing that the use of these agents previously eliminated instances of blocked intersections 96% of the time, though they can't be everywhere at once.
Let's be clear, this is a Band-Aid solution for bigger problems, which, is still a lack of coordination of the construction projects here in Toronto, and the fact that we have road occupancy permits that are issued for way too long.
Traffic agents are heroes. Traffic agents are making the city work for all of us.
48 new agents are being trained now and will hit the streets in the spring. Now, the city has had a difficult time retaining these traffic agents. The training process is quite rigorous because they have to be certified as special constables. Many of them then go on to become police officers. Officials saying they intend to keep up this training process so they can maintain a full complement of traffic agents moving forward. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Also tonight, were students exposed, and if so, what was accessed? A warning from the Toronto District School Board about a recent cyber attack.
We're getting a new look at the destruction in Southern California after wildfires charred everything in their path along the Pacific Coast Highway.
At least 5 people have been confirmed dead as crews battle blazes in the Los Angeles area. CTV's Andrew Johnson is tracking the very latest.
Eerie, empty, destruction. The tragic scene today in Southern California.
You wake up one morning and everything is normal. And you go to bed that night and you have nothing.
5 fires are now burning in the Los Angeles area. Close to 2,000 homes and buildings no longer exist. More than 200,000 people are on the run. Others stuck around, taking firefighting into their own hands.
I stopped one that went, and then it reignited about 4:30 this morning, and thank God I woke up at the perfect time, and I got it, and I stopped it from burning my house.
The good news today, a break in the wind.
And that has enabled significant progress against the fires in Hollywood and Studio City.
There is a significant Canadian contribution in this unprecedented LA firefight.
This is something, it's a phenomenon. No one's ever seen anything like this before.
Several water bombers working the fires, like this one, are operated by Port Alberni, BC-based Coulson Aviation.
We flew in the Sunset Fire, which we caught, which was great. We flew over 200,000 liters of water. And we were on the Palisades Fire last night on structure protection.
Quebec-based water bombers and pilots are also involved. Plus, there's more Canadian help on the way. Doug Ford says he's directed Ontario to send every available water bomber, sparing no expense. The province will also provide firefighters and equipment. Danielle Smith says water bombers and night vision helicopters are on the way from Alberta. The Prime Minister posted a video of a Canadian water bomber in action captioned "Neighbours helping neighbours," and fellow Canadians like Carolyn Day. Day and her family are living out of backpacks in an Airbnb and have now received word flames are within meters of their LA area home.
Yesterday I decided that it was probably going to burn, and the faster I got used to this idea, the faster I could mourn it and be clear-minded to turn around and see what is next in our lives.
Feeling powerless, but staying positive as their family's future changes by the hour. Andrew Johnson, CTV News.
The fires have left a charred trail of destruction, but as Andrew mentioned, help is coming from north of the border, including a pledge from the Premier to assist in fighting the flames. Doug Ford spoke about the situation in California this afternoon. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with all the details. Siobhan.
Well, Michelle, in the back and forth over potential tariffs, you've heard Doug Ford talk a lot the last few days about the friendship that exists between Canada and the U.S., and he says this aid going to California is a great example of that. Premier Doug Ford calls scenes like this unfolding in Los Angeles tragic as fires eat through communities, homes, memories.
The poor frontline firefighters, they're absolutely exhausted and they need some relief.
Relief is on the way from Ontario, sending 2 water bombers like this one and 165 urban firefighters and all their gear to California, help to fight back the destructive flames. It's a plan that's taken a few days to line up in the down season for Ontario wildfires.
We're working with the federal government, they're working with the state of California, and we're just waiting for the green light. Hopefully we'll get this and they'll be on their way by tomorrow.
The offer of help lands in the middle of an escalating dispute over tariffs and financial pain to force Canada to join the U.S.
This is an example of what I've been saying. You know, our closest friend and our closest ally needs help, and we're going to make sure we're going to be there for supporting them.
At the same time, CTV News has learned the federal government's considering retaliatory tariffs on American-made things like ceramics, steel, and Florida orange juice.
I agree with their list and other areas that I've seen. I agree with it. But isn't this a shame? You know, it's a shame that we have to go down this road with our closest ally and friend.
No final decisions have been made about whether to retaliate if Donald Trump follows through on his tariff threat. There is other help that could potentially go to California in the form of up to 20 personnel, experts in things like mapping and emergency management. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And still ahead, a jewelry store owner fights back with a broomstick. A frightening robbery attempt caught on camera. You'll hear from him in just a moment.
But first, here's a look at the forecast, a live shot of the city. Another chilly night, so bundle up with all the layers if you're heading outside. The good news is the freezing cold air is on the way out, but we do have some snow moving in. How much? Lindsay Morrison's here with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yes, this time tomorrow we're going to be watching for the leading edge of that system, bringing us a couple of centimeters of snow just in time for the weekend. More on that in just a moment. Current temperature in Toronto is -7 degrees. It feels like -14. It's another chilly night, but improvements are happening with the temperature. We felt it a little bit this afternoon. We made it to a high of -4. These northwest winds and westerly winds are going to switch to more southerly winds for tomorrow. Here's what's coming. It's a widespread area that's going to see some snow. We'll detail the timing of its arrival coming up. For now, Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Linz. We're learning more tonight about a cybersecurity incident impacting schools in the GTA.
The Toronto District School Board issued a warning to parents about student information that may have been exposed. CTV's Mike Walker has the details.
Sensitive information about GTA students and staff stored on the Power School application may have been stolen in a data breach late last month, leaving some parents on edge.
It's very concerning, you know, in this modern day and age, that I think that data should be protected at all costs.
The application is used by school boards across North America, including the Toronto District School Board.
We are committed to protecting your student and staff data.
Power School boasts about its security measures. In an update to school boards today, officials blame the data breach on a compromised username and password.
These credentials had been out there. This attacker found them on the dark web and used them.
Power School said it learned of the breach on December 28th. Sensitive and personal data were accessed.
It would be things like social security number, some personal, some PII, some demographic type data, date of birth, things like that, medical information.
The cloud software is used by 76% of Canadian students. At this point, it's not clear how many school boards are affected.
This is the largest and most damaging hack potentially since 2017.
This cyber safety expert says the impact could be detrimental.
Personally identifiable information has been stolen, and as a result, that could mean even more power in the hands of perpetrators to intimidate, to threaten, to extort those families that have been impacted.
Power School states there was no evidence of malware, the incident has been contained, and its security measures since improved, adding that the hackers deleted the information and that no copies were posted online.
We know that just because you see somebody press delete on the screen, it doesn't mean that's going to be the end of all of the data that is being purged from that one computer.
If you talk about your addresses and stuff like that, you would hope for the best.
The province's Information and Privacy Commissioner now launching an investigation.
The TDSB says it's still working with Power School to confirm what information may have been accessed and will provide updates as soon as that information is available. Mike Walker, CTV News.
The trial of an Ontario man accused of selling lethal substances online to people who later used them to take their own lives has been pushed back to next year. Kenneth Law is set to stand trial on 14 counts each of first-degree murder and aiding suicide. Proceedings were due to begin in September, but court documents say the start date is now January 2026. The reason cited is an upcoming appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. The Crown challenged a ruling by Ontario's top court that suggests a person may only be liable for murder if they provided a person who committed suicide with a lethal substance and, quote, overbore the victim's free will. The Supreme Court agreed to expedite its hearing of the appeal given the implications for Law's upcoming trial.
Toronto police are asking for your help finding a man accused of abducting his own son. Police share this image of 48-year-old Kapil Sunak. They say he traveled to Delhi, India with his 3-year-old son Valentino back in July. They had a court-ordered return date of August 8th, which police say they failed to meet, meaning the accused violated a custody order. Investigators are hoping anybody with information will contact them or Crime Stoppers.
A crash involving a police cruiser and an SUV closed a few lanes at a major intersection in the city today. The CTV News chopper was over the scene at Finch and Bathurst over the noon hour. It appears the two vehicles collided in the middle of the intersection. Toronto police say no injuries were reported and no charges have been laid.
And a pedestrian has died after being struck by a vehicle on the 401 off-ramp at Keele. It happened shortly before 7 this morning. Police say a man in his 30s was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries and later died. Investigators say the vehicle remained at the scene.
Emergency crews were called to the scene of a large fire at an industrial facility in the East End. It broke out at Raleigh and Moira Avenues near Kennedy and Danforth just before 11 a.m. Toronto Fire says a car and an oil drum were on fire, but the flames were quickly extinguished. There are no reports of injuries.
We turn to the story of a GTA jewelry store owner who fought back against smash-and-grab robbers.
The terrifying crime has become far too common in recent months. CTV's Scott Lightfoot spoke to the man who took matters into his own hands.
At Jewelry Forever in Markville Mall, owner Jerry Serrani is often found working at his bench. That's exactly where he was one day last October when 3 people entered his small store.
As soon as I saw like mask and hoodie and covering face, I knew it right away what was going on.
A robbery was something he'd seen happen elsewhere, but never here in the 16 years he's owned it.
And I said, no, it's not going to happen. While I'm here, I'm not going to sit down and watch you, break my showcases and take things.
So Serrani grabbed a nearby broomstick and took a run at the thieves. The first 2 were scared off quickly. The third was more persistent.
Fortunately, I have the laminate on my showcase, so it's very hard to break. And he was busy with that. Like he hit it probably 12 times, and he was not successful.
The entire incident took only about 15 seconds before all of the would-be robbers ran off.
So what did they get?
Nothing.
Not a thing.
He just got a little bit of beating. That's all he got.
No one was ever arrested in this incident, and Serrani isn't convinced they ever will be. But incidents like it are increasing in both frequency and severity. In the same mall last December, at least 10 people smashed out the window of another jewelry store. And that same week in York Region, there was another similar scene at Hillcrest Mall.
You always had them just grab and run, but nothing like that coming inside, especially inside the mall, to smash and to that degree.
Now, Serrani's store keeps the doors locked at all times. Customers have to be let in. It's a move meant to increase safety, but it's also decreased business.
We rely on foot traffic, And a lot of customers don't feel comfortable either when they come in and they see the doors locked.
Sereni says his decision to confront the criminals was an automatic reaction, one he hopes he won't have to have again. But he doesn't think the problem is going to go away anytime soon.
The system has to change. The law has to change because we can't do business like this. And it's all the same kind of age bracket doing this because they know there's really no real consequences. And as long as that fear is not there, this is going to keep happening and happening.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
The clock is ticking on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's time in office after he announced plans to resign.
Now, fellow Liberals are preparing and launching campaigns to become the next party leader.
To rebuild our nation and secure prosperity for future generations.
Nepean MP Chandra Arya is second to announce a leadership run, along with former Montreal MP and businessman Frank Baylis. Higher-profile Liberals said to be considering leadership bids include Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, and former BC Premier Christy Clark. Several current cabinet ministers say they're also thinking about running. The Conservatives say no matter who the Liberals pick, they'll be tied to the legacy of the current Prime Minister.
In the next election, I will be running against Justin Trudeau. Whether his name is Justin Trudeau, or his name is Chrystia Freeland, or Carbon Tax Carney, or Carbon Tax Clark, they will all be Justin Trudeau. They supported everything he's done, and they promise to keep doing it. And if they say otherwise, we know they're lying, because they would have done so earlier.
While the Conservatives hold a strong and ongoing lead in the polls, whoever's chosen as Liberal leader will also become Prime Minister ahead of an election sometime this year. Opposition parties have pledged to defeat the Liberal minority government when Parliament returns in March.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said today Ottawa prefers cooperation with Washington, but it's ready to retaliate if Donald Trump imposes tariffs on Canadian goods.
We have become incredibly successful as countries, as economies, as a continent, because we do things so well together. We create jobs on both sides of the border. We create growth. We create opportunities for investors and business people. Continuing to work together and avoiding unnecessary tariffs on goods and products from Canada is in our interest to continue to move forward, both from an American perspective and a Canadian perspective.
Referring to ongoing comments from President-elect Donald Trump that Canada might someday become the 51st state, the Prime Minister said that's never going to happen.
And we want Canada to be a true north that is as strong and as free as it can be in every way that matters.
And that's the voice of former Prime Minister Stephen Harper in a Conservative Party video from 13 years ago. He shared it on X, responding to the president-elect's comments. Harper repeated his words, "Canada is and always has been our country." He concluded, "True when I said it, true today."
Dignitaries and loved ones gathered in Washington, D.C. today to bid farewell to Jimmy Carter.
It marked the final day of national funeral services for the 39th U.S. president before he's laid to rest in Georgia. CTV's Joy Malbin has the details.
In the majesty of the National Cathedral, the story of Jimmy Carter is one of service and love of country. Every living president here to honor the 39th president of the United States, along with foreign dignitaries, including Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Political rivals Donald Trump chatting with Barack Obama and shaking hands with Mike Pence, who refused to bow to Trump's pressure to overturn the 2020 election results. Animosity set aside to celebrate Carter's life.
Jimmy Carter's friendship taught me, and through his life taught me, the strength of character is more than title or the power we hold.
From his humble roots, a southern peanut farmer who rose to the presidency, helped broker Middle East peace, elevated women and people of color to positions of power, as Carter once said, that was just the beginning.
He built houses for people that needed homes. He eliminated diseases in forgotten places. He waged peace.
Tributes from his family, relatives, and sons of political adversaries praised Carter as a man guided by faith who believed in the good of America. His pastor with the last word.
Jimmy Carter, for me, was something of a miracle. It's still hard for me to understand how you could get to be president from Plains, Georgia.
A legacy of accomplishments, President Carter returns home, where he'll be buried next to the love of his life, his wife, Rosalind. Joy Malbon, CTV News, Washington.
Well, he'll be U.S. president once again in just 11 days, but Donald Trump may still face sentencing for his criminal convictions in a New York hush money trial. That state's top court rejected Trump's request to halt his sentencing, currently scheduled for tomorrow morning. The judge in the case has said Trump is unlikely to face jail time, but he is still pushed for the sentencing to be halted. He's now asked the U.S. Supreme Court to step in.
Tomorrow was already set to be a crucial day for the U.S. Supreme Court as it begins hearings on the fate of TikTok. The Chinese-owned social media companies asked the justices to halt a looming ban lawmakers implemented, citing national security concerns. TikTok says it will stop operations in the United States by January 19th, rather than agreeing to a sale to a U.S. company. Incoming U.S. President Donald Trump has asked the Supreme Court to implement a pause. He's pledging to find a political solution when he takes office later this month.
The Princess of Wales is celebrating her 43rd birthday. The past year has been a challenging one for Princess Kate. She had abdominal surgery before being diagnosed with cancer and undergoing chemotherapy treatment. She's expected to continue her gradual return to public duties this year and was set to celebrate at home with family in Windsor. And Prince William shared his birthday wishes on social media, writing, "To the most incredible wife and mother, the strength you've shown over the last year has been remarkable. George, Charlotte, Louis and I are so proud of you. Happy birthday, Catherine. We love you. W."
Coming up, a troubling snapshot of homelessness in Ontario. A new report offers a new and more accurate picture of the number of people living on the streets and in shelters.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, hundreds of Ontario homeowners signed up last year to get government rebates after making their homes more energy efficient. But now it appears the company has gone out of business and the promised rebates never arrived. All of my reports just ahead.
So it will be cold and sunny tomorrow morning. It will be milder but cloudy in the afternoon, and then the snow moves in. At this point, it's looking like anywhere from 2 to 5 centimeters, maybe a little more outside of the GTA. We're going to take you through a full look at your weekend forecast coming up.
And I'm Jessica Smith down here on the ice at the reopened Harbourfront Centre rink just off Queens Quay. It has opened in the past few weeks. The weather wasn't agreeable, but now it is cold enough and folks are out here enjoying an evening skate. Coming up, we'll have more on how people are enjoying it, getting out and getting active and staying warm in all of this chilly weather. We'll have more from all the people here on the ice. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Later this month, the Ontario government is launching a home renovation program offering rebates for energy-efficient upgrades.
Similar programs have been offered in the past, but if you take part in them, you need to make sure the one you sign up with is legit. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. Some homeowners signed up with a program last year. They found on social media they were promised huge rebates, 0% financing, and 10-year protection plans. But now the company has gone out of business, leaving them with expensive long-term contracts.
Uzair Shahid of Kingston says he was on Instagram last January when he saw an ad for a government rebate program. He filled out a form and was contacted the next day.
He said, okay, we are from Provincial Smart Home Company. So because of the word Provincial Smart Home, I thought this is like a provincial program.
Shahid signed a contract with Provincial Smart Home Services to get a heat pump, water heater, and smart thermostat for $25,000. Along with gift cards, he was promised a $7,500 rebate, 0% financing, and a 10-year protection plan. Despite calling the company for months, the rebate never arrived.
A rebate never came in. Gift card, $200, never came in.
We don't have the rebate from the government.
John Pinto and Roberta Sterling of Cambridge signed a similar contract with the same company. They also never received their rebate. And the 0% financing has now risen to 15%, meaning they owe much more than they thought.
Now we owe them like almost $40,000.
I was told it's going to be 0% for the entire loan period.
Gary Gill of Brampton also signed a contract with Provincial Smart Home Services. He says he was promised $10,000 in rebates that he never received.
Provincial is vanished, so we don't know where they are.
Consumers are trying to get service from them or question their contracts and unable to locate the company, and we're unable to locate them as well.
The Better Business Bureau says Provincial Smart Home Services appears to have gone out of business, but their contracts now belong to a financing company which still wants to get paid.
These businesses will sell the finance piece to another party, a finance company, and then the consumers are obligated to that party to make those payments.
The contracts are held by Finance It. The company told CTV News. Finance It operates independently as the lender and is not directly involved in the services or products provided by any merchant partner. The company said Provincial Smart Home Services is no longer an active merchant partner of Finance It. Those in long-term contracts say they've been left with more questions than answers.
And the new rebate program being offered by the Ontario government goes into effect January 28th. If you decide to take part, make sure you're dealing with a reputable company and that you understand the program. There are rules you'll need to follow. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, it is still very cold tonight, especially with that wind chill, although tomorrow should feel different.
Yeah, again, looking forward to -2, -1. I mean, dealing with -10, it seems like it's like a warm, balmy day.
It really does. We'll take it, I think. Even though we're becoming hardy, we're getting used to this weather, which is good because there's more of it in store for next week. But yes, I think many of us will take the warm up. In fact, this afternoon, we warmed up to a high of -4 degrees and we had all that sunshine, made for a beautiful day out on the slopes. This was the scene at Lakeridge Ski Resort. Our CTV News chopper was flying high above it, and it looks like folks were having a lot of fun. You know, the winds were a little more gentle today compared to the last few days, and what is really going to change tomorrow is the direction of those winds. So they've been coming out of the northwest for some time now. We're going to get a southwest flow for tomorrow, and already you can see that some of this Arctic air is starting to retreat over the province of Ontario, but it is still cold at night. As soon as that sun sets, the temperature drops a little bit, so we're not out of the woods yet. Overnight tonight, we're forecasting a low of -10 degrees. It's still going to feel like -13 at the coldest point in the night, which often is just before sunrise at this time of year. And then once the sun rises, yeah, it's still going to be quite chilly. Bundle up for the kids heading off to school or to the bus stop. It's in the afternoon that conditions are really going to improve. Now, you'll see these snow icons. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Maybe in the afternoon for southwestern Ontario, later in the day for the GTA. How about -2 degrees in Burlington, -4 in Aurora. And then eastern sections of Ontario should have a mostly dry day tomorrow. Again, cloud cover is going to gradually increase as the day goes on, but you might hold on to it a little bit longer in that area. As for the cold, yeah, it's slipping away for the time being. We're going to moderate our temperatures a little bit over the weekend. It's going to be very comfortable for spending some time outside. Looking forward to that. The snow that's coming for tomorrow, this is system snow, so it's a little more widespread. It doesn't impact those isolated areas like the lake effect snow does. Tomorrow morning, there's the sunshine. Might be a little short-lived. We're going to see an increase in cloud cover late morning, certainly into the afternoon. A heads up on the timing of this. There's still a little bit of uncertainty. Here's the start of the evening commute. We might stay dry. We might get a few flurries or the leading edge of that system rolling in. But what's more likely is that we're going to see the snow fall through the mid to late evening, continuing through the overnight hours. By the time you're waking up on Saturday morning, most of us anyway, this activity should be finished. Chance of flurries continuing throughout the day. But once again, I'll remind you of the fact that at this point, we're anticipating 2 to 5 centimeters of snow. Some areas could end up seeing just a little more than that, thanks to some enhancement off of the Great Lakes. Here's your 7-day forecast. So weekend is looking pretty good once we get past that snow potential on Saturday morning. Chance of flurries in the afternoon. Daytime high 0. So suddenly we're a little above seasonal. By a hair, again, we'll take it. -1 degree for your Sunday. Chance of flurries through the early part of next week, and then look at those numbers starting to cool right back down into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week too. But someone who doesn't mind being out in the cold is our very own Jessica Smith. She is live tonight at the Harbourfront Centre skating rink. This is a good way to enjoy winter, Jess.
It is, and I have on all of the layers, Lindsay. I have on all of the layers. And I've got a couple of awesome skaters here with me now. It's so great to be out and getting our exercise in a different way. And the rink just recently reopened just after Christmas, but it's not been the warmest. I have Alelia here and Keith. So talk to me about what brought you guys out tonight.
Okay, so I have heard a lot of this place, so I wanted to try. I believe that this is one of the best things that the city has to offer, so my friend and I decided to come to skate like a little bit tonight. And I enjoyed the place too much.
And also, it's been closed for the last 2 years, so, you know, the suspense has just kept us waiting. Yeah.
The suspense has been killing us. Thank you guys so much. And I have two very tiny, amazing skaters here. I have Shayla and Vasco. Now, you guys have been crushing it this whole time. Tell me, what is your favorite part about skating?
Having fun.
And you?
Playing with friends.
They have been doing a fantastic job, and we're all doing our very best. Yeah, the rink just reopened. It's been closed for 2 years, and you guys are having a good time, right? Yes. We're going to do our signature pose. Thumbs up. Crushing it. There we go. We're going to send it back in studio, but yeah, you can come on down. They have free skate rentals on Saturdays. They've also got a DJ, and I hear there's soca music, so you can, like, you know, do your thing on the ice. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to keep skating, right, guys? Yeah. I'm going to send it back into studio. Bye, guys. Stay warm.
Wow.
Let's go.
So much fun, and the live music on the weekends is great. Thank you, Jess. Bye, kids. Also tonight, Hollywood pauses production, and the Academy Award nominations have been postponed because of the wildfires in Los Angeles. Details coming up.
A new report is shedding light on how widespread the problem of homelessness is in our province.
It found tens of thousands of people don't have a permanent roof over their heads and didn't have it last year. As CTV's Beth McDonnell reports, that's a significant increase over the past couple of years.
And as sad as these numbers are and disappointing, they're not surprising.
Michael Braithwaite works with some of the most vulnerable people across York and Durham regions. Since the pandemic, he says there's been a large growth in the number of people experiencing homelessness, and shelters are full.
One of the fastest growing populations, sadly, too, are seniors experiencing homelessness, families, larger families as well.
A new report by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario found since 2022, people experiencing homelessness is up by 25%, and more than 80,000 people experienced homelessness in Ontario in 2024. The numbers are growing faster in rural and northern areas, with 50% of people experiencing chronic homelessness, that's periods of 6 months or more, and with a 600% increase in the level among asylum seekers and refugees.
It's really the product of what we think is decades of provincial policy decisions in areas like income security, mental health and addictions, as well as deeply affordable housing capacity that really are now coming home to roost.
The data was gathered in conjunction with 47 service providers across Ontario. The report says without major intervention in the next decade, Ontario could see nearly 300,000 people experience homelessness in an economic downturn. To solve the crisis, the association says $11 billion is needed to end chronic homelessness and $2 billion to end encampments. The Premier says Toronto received $700 million in prevention, but more is needed.
I've never seen anything like it. But we need to support these people, get them back on their feet, get them a good paying job, and we need to build more homes.
Braithwaite says he's seeing more full and part-time workers who can't pay rent. For better outcomes, a focus is needed on youth staying in school, addictions help, and income support.
So what other new income pieces can we put into play where people can afford the rents that are currently out there?
He says it's taking too long to build affordable housing, and it needs to speed up. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
As the California wildfires wreak havoc in the Los Angeles area, there are also some ongoing impacts on Hollywood. Voting opened yesterday for the Oscar nominations. Members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences originally had until Sunday to submit their choices, but an email sent to members now says the deadline will be extended 2 more days as a result of the wildfire emergency. The nominations will also be announced 2 days later than planned on January 29th. The 2025 ceremony is scheduled to take place in Los Angeles March 2nd and is hosted by Conan O'Brien.
Sesame Street is sharing a sneak peek at some of its celebrity guests this upcoming season.
Everybody has feelings, feelings inside them. A volcano breath can help you calm your body.
You may have spotted singer Renee Rapp there. She's on the list of the big names joining the kids' TV show in its 55th season, as our fellow guests SZA and Noah Kahan, Michael B. Jordan, and Jonathan Van Ness. The new episodes of Sesame Street debut 1 week from today, January 16th.
After the break, Canada's Passport Power Rankings drops several spots. Where we rank now and what this means for travelers. That's coming up.
These traffic agents will be moving traffic, getting Toronto moving.
Updating our top stories, that promise from Mayor Olivia Chow as we learn more about the city's 2025 budget plans. The current proposal would boost the number of traffic agents on city streets from roughly 25 now to 100 at a cost of roughly $3 million. Councillor Brad Bradford called the idea a Band-Aid situation.
Communities wiped out, lives lost, families forever changed. They're the worst fires to ever hit Los Angeles, ever.
U.S. President Joe Biden is vowing ongoing support for authorities in California as they deal with the devastating wildfires in the Los Angeles area. At least 5 people have been killed and hundreds of thousands forced out of their homes, with the fires still active in several areas.
When it comes to Canada being looked at as the 51st state, let me just state it again, that's never going to happen.
And those comments from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this evening as he was in Washington for Jimmy Carter's funeral. He also said Canada is prepared to respond to tariff threats from President-elect Trump, but Ottawa would prefer to work together with Washington.
And remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video breaking news, let us know.
Toronto stocks rose today, boosted by copper miners and gold producers. Andrew Balabian in Bloomberg has the details in business.
Hello there. Canada's benchmark stock index edged up today. U.S. stock trading was halted in honor of former President Jimmy Carter. Gold miner Agnico Eagle helped to push the market higher, and Kinross Gold hit its highest since 2011. Investors awaited results after the close from Aritzia, whose stock has returned to near record high levels. A profit per share in the fashion retailer's latest quarter was well above expectations, and the company boosted its revenue forecast. Despite global warming, cheap coal remains crucial to China's energy security, according to a top industry group. Output is likely to rise 1.5% this year for a 9th consecutive annual increase. Demand is expected to expand 1%. That's according to the China Coal Transportation and Distribution Association. China has expanded mining capacity to avoid a repeat of crippling shortages that struck the economy earlier this decade. The rising output then pushed up accidents, which subsequently slowed production in some regions. And finally, America's outgoing ambassador to Japan says U.S. defense companies are hurting the nation's security interests by prioritizing share buybacks over actually delivering weapons to the U.S. military and its allies. Rahm Emanuel, former Democratic congressman and top Obama advisor, said the firms are more focused on increasing their stock value than in investing in production. He warned, quote, the U.S. defense industry is a bigger risk to America's security and the credibility of our deterrence than China is. The Canadian dollar changed hands at 69.49 U.S. cents, down a fraction of a cent. West Texas Intermediate oil was at $73.92 U.S. a barrel, up 60 cents. Our latest fix on Western Canadian Select oil, $60.26, down $1.03. And the TSX Composite ended at 25,073.36, up just under 22 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
New travel rules take effect this year for passengers heading to Europe, including Canadian citizens. While Canadians are still exempt from visas, they'll still have to do a bit more paperwork in advance of boarding. As of this week, Canadian citizens need an electronic travel authorization to travel to the UK. Passengers can apply online and are advised to do so before booking their flights. Europe's border-free travel zone has indicated it'll put a similar system in place sometime this year. Canada has had its own system of electronic travel authorizations for visa-exempt visitors since 2016.
And a new annual ranking shows Canada's passport is now tied for the 7th most powerful in the world, marking a drop of 3 places over the last decade. The Henley Passport Index defines power by the number of countries a holder can enter visa-free. Canadians can do so with 188 destinations. Singapore continues to hold the top rank with 195. In sports, the Maple Leafs are looking for their 6th win in a row tonight.
Back to 34, and it's Tavares shooting, scores!
The Leafs are taking on the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh and are coming off back-to-back 3-2 wins over the Flyers, which extended their winning streak to 5. Puck drop tonight is at 7:30.
Poulin hands off to Ambrose, and they hit traffic right in front of rebound. They score!
Great goal. The Toronto Septors played Montreal and Vancouver last night as part of the PWHL's 9-city takeover tour. Marie-Philippe Poulin scored twice as Montreal downed the Septors 4-2. Jesse Comfer and Darryl Watt scored for Toronto. The sold-out game was the second stop in the takeover tour, crisscrossing North America to grow the league's audience and test potential expansion markets. Another destination on the tour is Edmonton, where Toronto will play Ottawa on February 16th.
Kicks it to Hart. Hart's open, and then Scotty closes the denial, the two-handed slam. How about that?
And the Raptors were looking to avoid a 3rd straight loss when they took on the New York Knicks last night. They kept it close much of the night, but the Knicks pulled ahead in the 4th, opening up a 26-point lead. New York won the game 112-98. Emmanuel quickly led the Raptors with 22 points. Former Raptor OG Anunoby had 27 for the Knicks. Toronto will be back on the court tomorrow to play the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And Canada's first WNBA team has announced its first founding partner. The Toronto Tempo releasing this video unveiling Sephora Canada as the basketball franchise's founding partner and official beauty partner. Sephora's logo will adorn the Tempo's jerseys when the team takes the court in 2026.
Just ahead, embracing the cold in style. The best snowboarders in the province converge to showcase their skills. We'll take you to Mount St. Louis Moonstone, where they're gearing up for a big competition.
Tonight, Pierre Poilievre's first news conference since the Prime Minister said he will resign.
The Liberal MPs want to elect another Justin Trudeau.
And what he said about the incoming U.S. president later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special greetings to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Tomorrow, showcasing the best new tech.
It's awesome. I have no words to describe it.
The innovative promises.
I've already seen so many amazing things.
To improve your life. Tomorrow on CTV News at 6. They are getting ready to tear up the hills at Mount St. Louis Moonstone.
That's where the Ontario Snowboard Slopestyle Series will get underway soon.
Really excited to be back at Mount St. Louis. They have the best snowmaking. They're going to make the best course we'll have this season in our Ontario Series events. We're going to start doing national events and international events, so it all starts here. We're going to have a fun weekend.
That's Canadian snowboarding legend Trevor Niblett, who has now moved on to coaching and will be part of the event. It'll be held at the Junkyard Terrain Park and will feature some of the best boarders in the province.
I remember as a kid always looking up to these competitions, and I competed myself for skiing, but it was always seeing these events is what got me into it. So having the young boarders be able to come out and watch this kind of event, it's going to create that next generation of boarders, which is always so important for the industry.
Training takes place tomorrow with the competition getting underway at 9:30 Saturday.
That might be the coolest sport on snow.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
Doesn't it? And we got some snow coming.
We do, and I must say this part of the province has had the perfect combination of natural snow and cold temperatures to keep making snow. More of that on the way. We're going to get a little bit of natural snow here in the GTA. That happens tomorrow night. Here's one more look at the overnight hours tonight. It's going to be chilly once again. If you're venturing out this evening, make sure you bundle up. As for tomorrow, forecast daytime high -1. That's a change from the last couple of days. We'll have some sunshine to start, some cloud cover in the afternoon, and then here's the snow. It's going to roll in sometime in the evening hours, should move on out in the early morning hours of Saturday, but we'll likely have a few fresh centimeters on the ground that you'll likely have to shovel. And yes, even though it is going to be a decently mild weekend, looks like the snow will stick around with some cold air returning through the middle of next week. Nathan and Michelle.
Thanks, Lindsay. You can join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.